So you've been invited to an event, it has a dress code. Watch this video, I'll be talking through all the options from white tie all the way through to summer casual. You'll never get it wrong again. So the most formal dress code for the evening is what we call white tie. Very elegant, we probably recognise it from television and film, period dramas like Upstairs, Downstairs, Downton Abbey. Also has an association with ballroom dancing, so if you watch some television shows with ballroom dancing on, you've probably seen similar outfits. This is a modern tail suit, and it's not a huge amount of difference from the original one, which was a 19th century garment when this look became fashionable. Obviously this wasn't for everybody in the 19th century, this would have been very much an upper class way of dressing who could afford to change from their day clothes into the evening clothes. And the combination of a dark suit and immaculate white shirt was very much in the Victorian Britain view of wealth. It was wealthy enough to have a clean shirt on every day, but not so ostentatious to wear a white suit. So the black suit has a certain restraint to it, and then the white is a symbol of your wealth. The coat itself, similar to the morning coat, it has a panelled back and it has an equestrian feel to it. It's cut away at the front and is fastened in the style of a double-breasted, but actually doesn't fasten at the front at all. It's unusual. So it has the three rows of buttons either side, but doesn't actually fasten. It's cut to the waist and it needs to be slightly shaped. The shoulder needs to be relatively well padded, and it always takes peaked or double-breasted lapels. It will have a facing in it. Now today we'd usually use grosgrain, which is a ribbed material. Often you'll see on older ones it'd actually be faced in, so you'd actually see a little bit of the material to the edge. And on older models, you often with sort of velvet top collar. Unlike the morning coat, for example, where there are some subtle variations of lapel shape and pockets, this is very much a fixed garment. The only thing I would touch on is that if you look at models from fashion plates from the early part of the 20th century, they occasionally never had a chest pocket. And I have seen contemporary versions where they've not made a chest pocket. But a chest pocket is well suited. I'll come to that later. So you have the coat with the facing, and the important thing is, again, with it is the trousers. Now the trousers would be in the same material as the coat, and the material is black or midnight blue. Now when I say midnight blue, I mean a traditional midnight blue, which is absolutely blacker than black. I don't mean the modern trendy midnight which you will get for a dinner suit, dinner jacket, which has got that definite navy feel to it. It needs to be very, very dark midnight blue. So midnight blue or black, generally in medium to heavyweight barathias. This is a modern one, so it's a medium weight file cloth, like a lighter weight barathia. Pure wool. The trousers are cut high, and I'll come to the reason for that, for a couple of reasons for that. They need to be cut very, very high in the waist, and the only way they're going to stay up is with braces. So they need to be cut with brace tops. I don't even put side adjusters on mine. Straight leg, not overly baggy, not overly tapered. And on the outside, you have 2 rows of stripes. So unlike on black tie, where you have 1 row, you have a double row of stripes on the outside, which distinguishes it from black tie. And now to the shirts and accessories. What we've got here is quite stiff items of clothing, and in the last 20 years everything's got so soft. Even dressing the mannequins today remind me how almost austere it is and how crisp it all feels. So starting with the shirt, this one here is a cotton Marcella, and it's what we call semi-stiff. So it's been constructed in such a way so it's quite hard to touch. It could also be in linen, and that'd be plain, and that'd be heavily starched. So it'd be a crisp shirt. Because it was so stiff and so crisp, you couldn't put a button through it, so hence you have dress studs. For white tie, traditionally you'd have 1, 2 or 3 studs, depending on your style of shirt and your stature and your build. So 1, 2 or 3 studs. I think this one here is only showing 2 studs. The collar is detachable, so you've got even more studs. You've got a front and a back stud, which attaches it to the neck, and that is very heavily polished and starched. So it sits really, really proud. Clue in the title, a white bow tie. Now this white bow tie is in pure cotton Marcella. Now the white bow tie, if you think you can tie a bow tie, try tying a white cotton bow. It's quite stiff and quite cumbersome. And because it's a wing collar, it needs to be tied yourself, because if you have a clip at the back, it'll be exposed. So you really need to, if you're going to wear a white tie and do it really well, you need to find a sized or single-ended white Marcella bow tie. I would suggest, if you're going to go to the effort, you want to wear this and you want to have one made, definitely don't treat the bow tie as an afterthought. Get something bespoke. La Boutique Bow Ties makes the most beautiful bow ties. He would do a bespoke one, and I would say for the effort of doing this whole outfit, getting the perfect bow tie is essential. When you see a pre-tied one, it just looks it looks a little bit sad. So I would always suggest making the effort, getting a proper bow tie, sized, single-ended, ideally bespoke. And I will state the obvious, that for white tie, you must wear a white bow tie. When I say white, it's not an optic white. It's a rich, natural white, slightly creamy. The reason it will be slightly off-white is that the starching changes the colour, and with time it actually goes quite yellow. I've seen some vintage 20th century starched linen dress shirts, and they look almost yellow because the starch discolours with time. The cuffs on a white tie shirt are single for links. Often you'll see for white tie people wearing a black tie wing collared shirt, because it has a wing collar, it has studs and it takes cuff links. It's not the worst thing I've seen done, but the proper white tie shirt has single link cuffs and a detachable collar, and at least a semi-stiff front. Now the waistcoat. Now the waistcoat is tricky because the waistcoat has quite a hard job to do. I remember this when I developed this suit. This is the first prototype. It had to do a number of things. First of all, it has to cover the waistband. Secondly, it has to be invisible under the fronts here. So if you look closely, we couldn't squeeze the waistband up high enough because of the mannequin. But ideally, you wouldn't see any of the waistband of the trouser, nor would you see, as you haven't seen here, any white coming down. The waistcoat itself is in the same material. This is a Marcella, which matches the shirt and the bow tie. Typically, a waistcoat worn with white tie will be backless. Now, there's a lot of prejudice against backless waistcoats. I know a lot of my friends in the traditional menswear industry see them as a little bit higher, a little bit second rate, but I actually am a big fan of them. Because if you understand why we did it, for white tie at least, for practical reasons. The backless waistcoat was invented by Benson and Clegg in the late 1930s, I think about 36, 37. They were tailors working for Hawes and Curtis, who were tailors to then Prince of Wales. And they discovered that the waistcoats would often be uncomfortable for dancing in, but more importantly, when they were being laundered, because these had to be laundered, they would shrink differently. So the back and the front would shrink at different rates, and they would ride up and wouldn't sit properly. So they devised a way of making it backless so that it could be laundered. And with laundry comes the option to starch. And I've got an example here of something which is comically stiff. Well, just look, that's how stiff and starched that is. If you can imagine that being in the same type of material as the shirt, it's quite an uptight look. Immaculate, but you can imagine wearing this every evening would have been, well, especially if you're used to it, fun occasionally, but that is really, really stiff. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a Rampley & Co video without talking of the pocket square. As I said before, older models never took a chest pocket. It's not incorrect not to have anything in there. Often flowers are worn of an evening, beautiful. I would tend to go for a plain white linen, just neatly folded. And with such an elegant outfit, you need to finish it with elegant footwear. So the options would be things like patent Oxfords without a toe cap, highly polished hole cuts kind of work. But for me, my favourite shoe for this is to wear a proper dress pump, or sometimes called a court shoe, which is a very low with a flat bow or a pinched bow. Of course, if you're wearing a very low shoe, a low slip-on shoe, your socks are important. And purists will say they need to be black silk dress socks, which are a wonderful thing. I actually quite like a very, very dark red sock with white tie. If you do get the opportunity to wear it, take it. It feels great. It's a lovely, wonderful thing to wear. I've really enjoyed just seeing it on the mannequin. It's reminded me that I wish I could wear it more often. My final tip would be make sure you get your grooming absolutely right. I think when you've just got black and white, make sure you look really well groomed. So just make sure you have a fresh haircut, freshly shaven, or your beard is well trimmed, because it just really draws attention to the face. I would probably put some product in my hair, go for a bit of a 30s look, maybe sort of keep it quite close to the head, and just look really well put together. For accessories, you don't wear a wristwatch with white tie. You can wear a pocket watch. I'd opt against it because I think it depends if you've got the starched waistcoat, it's gonna crack the starch. But if you're confident wearing a pocket watch with a waistcoat and it works, you can maybe do a pocket watch, but don't wear a wristwatch. You could wear an opera hat, which is an evening version of a top hat. And technically, when you're in the street, you should always wear an overcoat with your tails, even in summer. And a gentleman would wear white gloves with this. If it was one for dancing, it was a ball, he would change into his clean white gloves for dancing, then have a different pair for traveling. One thing I would like to see a return of, or I say return of, what I would like to see more of, should I say, is I think this makes such a wonderful outfit for a groom. One of the best weddings I've been to is a good friend of mine, and he had a black tie wedding, and he was like, well, I want to be evening dress, but I want to look like the groom, and we dressed him in white tie, and everybody else was in black tie. White tie and black tie together, yeah, they're both elegant evening dress. So here's probably, I would say, the most popular dress code, black tie. This is a classic example of black tie. Now, black tie was a direct descendant of white tie that we've just seen, and it's got an interesting history. The history of the dinner jacket, which is, based on the lounge suit, shorter jacket, but keeping the facings of the tailcoat, can be traced back to the mid-19th century and Henry Paul making something for Edward VII, Welsh Prince of Wales. That's a well-documented story. Less documented is actually why we started wearing black ties with it. So although the dinner jacket goes back to the 19th century, it would have been worn with the same starched shirt, starched waistcoat, stiff collar, white bow tie, up until the 20th century. And I think that what gave the popularity of black tie wasn't so much the shorter jacket, although I guess it's less cumbersome to wear, but the freedom of wearing a soft shirt. The idea of wearing a soft shirt with a button front and just normal sort of soft double cuffs would have been far more comfortable to wear every evening than the stiffness and the dressed up and the rigmarole of white tie. And that's what we have now today for classic black tie. It's based on the lounge suit. Early 20th century dress plates and fashion books refer to it often as a dress lounge or a dinner jacket. And it would have been cut typically one button with a peak or a round collar. Modern ones take vents, but traditionally it would have been ventless. And the trousers were cut similar to white tie, but only took a single row of braid on the outside of the trouser. Now you see black tie quite a lot for different occasions. A lot of the events we get invited to which are black tie would have traditionally been white tie, but we went to black tie because it was seen as a bit more democratic and a little bit easier. There's an assumption to make an event white tie is a big ask of someone, but black tie, there's an expectation that you should be able to carry it out or at least have access to it. So with the emergence of black tie, I think after the First World War in the 20s, black tie became acceptable in mixed company. If you look at the history of the dinner jacket, it was worn for men-only events called stag do's, not what we call stag do's today, and it became acceptable to wear mixed company. But to me, the key to the success, I said before, is the shirt. The collar attached soft shirt with button fronts and just a simple fold-back double cuff is a lot easier to wear and a lot more comfortable. And I think it was that really made this style of dress more popular and less really to do with the shorter coat. What is lost in history? And if you know the answer to this, please put in a comment with your references, because I'd love to dig a bit deeper. What I've asked around Jermyn Street is, when was it decided that we should be wearing black coloured bow ties with the dinner jacket and reserving the white coloured bow tie for tails? Originally, the dinner jacket was worn with a white bow tie, but around the time of the softer shirt, we started to see the emergence of the black tie, and that's been very much codified. And even though there are lots of differences between the outfits, the colour of the bow tie is the defining feature. Some of the comments I've had when I've done some research say it comes from mess dress, so regimental dress for evening wear. I think that could have been an influence, but I haven't got a definitive answer. So if anyone knows why the black tie was chosen for this style, for the dinner jacket, put it in the comments below. So as we've established, black tie has a black bow tie. It will be in silk and it will complement the lapels, or should I say the bow tie will complement the lapels. So if you've got satin lapels like we have here, the bow tie should be in satin. If the lapels are in a grosgrain, it would be a Barathea bow tie. The material of the suit is similar to the tail suit. It will be a black Barathea or midnight blue. You do sometimes see other colours, dark browns, you see brighter blues, dark reds, even grey. But I guess black tie does cover a wide range of events. So if you get the invitation for black tie, this will always be your safe bet. The soft collared shirt, the button front, matching trouser is always safe. Now, there is a tradition or a custom that for black tie, you should always cover the waistband of your trousers. So that means if you're wearing a single-breasted dinner jacket, you should either wear a waistcoat. Now, waistcoats like white tie should be cut low and not high buttoning, or a cummerbund. Your bow tie should match the colour of your lapels, so invariably that'd be black. For midnight blue, I prefer black facings. If you do have a slightly fancier one of maybe a very dark brown or a very dark red, your bow tie could match your face, back tie could match your facings, that'd be fine. But I guess this depends on the context. This is where dress codes get more nuanced, because black tie can cover a wide range of events. If I was being invited to a dinner in the city that was black tie, and it was a conservative event, I would be inclined to say go black. Black bow tie and black dinner suit, midnight blue perhaps. But if it's a red carpet event, there's far more leeway for creativity and you can have a bit more fun with it if that's your personal style. So if it's a black tie wedding, I'd be inclined to be on the more conservative traditional side. If it's a Christmas party, I'd have some fun with it. An area I'd always encourage customers to put a little bit of colour into it is the pocket square. I'm a big fan of a coloured pocket square. Everything else being black and white, and a pop of colour in the pocket square always looks great. Shoes are important. Shoes are always important. You can wear dress pumps like you do for white tie, and they're making a bit of a resurgence. For the last 20 years, we're now starting to wear our velvet Albert slippers for black tie events, perhaps with your initials on or your family crest. A little bit of fun for black tie. And of course you can wear different coloured trousers. The fashion for wearing your family tartan or just a check you like with a black dinner jacket, you know, if that's your style, it's great fun. Another area you can be a little bit more creative with is with the shirt. Now of course, to wear button fronts is ultra conservative. But if you wanted to be a little bit more flamboyant, a bit more dressed up perhaps, you can wear your evening studs in like a black onyx, mother of pearl, diamond. And also sometimes you see coloured dress shirts. You see cream, it's quite a popular colour, pale blue, pinks, lavenders. But again, you need to sort of judge the occasion. Is this a conservative dinner? Is it a formal event, or is it a party or a red carpet event? And then be creative within those realms. There's another variation we see for black tie, which is in the warmer month. That is a cream dinner jacket, which I'll be showing you in a moment. But something I've seen emerge over the last decade or so is like the reverse cream tuxedo look, I guess, where you wear the black jacket with a pair of cream trousers. It looks fantastic. Now I think the look originated in one of the Esquire images from the 1930s, and it's been picked up by various designers over the years, and it just looks great. I often see it at black tie events for fashion shows, but it does look very elegant with a pair of like full cut cream trousers with the black jacket as a variation on the cream jacket and the black trousers, which I'm going to show you right now. So the cream dinner jacket was born in the 1930s, and it was designed as a less formal, tropical friendly version of black tie. If you're thinking back in those days, your black dinner jacket would have been of quite heavy Barathea, probably 17, 18 ounces. So the opportunity to wear something which was lighter and easier and friendlier for the warmer weather was welcomed. So to me, it always has that lovely 1930s Esquire illustration feel to it. And yeah, I really like them. Hasn't always been the case. I remember when I was 18, late 80s and we were going to my first black tie event, we were quite snooty about white dinner jackets, and if anyone who turns up wearing one, you'd call them a waiter. It takes a certain amount of style to pull one off. I really like them. This is actually my own jacket. To carry them off and to get the right type of jacket, I talk to my customers about one. So certainly get your black dinner jacket, your midnight blue, your classic dinner jacket first. And then if you feel like you need a second option for warmer weather, perhaps you are going on a cruise, perhaps you're going to an overseas wedding, and you want something a little bit lighter and easier, the advice I give is to make sure it's a nice summer cloth. Now the fabric I chose for my cream dinner jacket is a pure wool, and it's from Vitali Barberis, and it's actually their mesh blazer material. And I happen to think, oh, it's quite interesting for a cream. I love it, it's got this lovely, creamy, rich colour to it. So I think go on the more creamy, yellowy side rather than white. White can look a bit too stark. Beautiful cream mother of pearl button. I always would go for a peak lapel or a shawl collar. I like double-breasted and they look fantastic in certain situations, but because it's a warmer weather garment, having it single-breasted is just a little bit lighter, there's less cloth, but double-breasted does look supremely elegant. I don't like notch lapels on a cream dinner jacket, although I'm a fan of a notch lapel black dinner jacket. Sorry, I'm not going to see some comments coming below on that. And an important distinction for me personally is that I much prefer the lapels to be self-faced rather than a contrast cream, satin, or sometimes you see grosgrain. I just feel it's a little bit easier, a little bit less fussy and a little bit less prissy. I think also it's slightly more authentic, so I could dress this down a bit easier than I could if it had the satin facing on it. So I do feel that the cream dinner jacket done well can be very cool, quite subversive, slightly edgy, but it can look a bit pretty. That's why I tend to go against the matching lapels and the satin buttons. I prefer, in this incarnation, you can get them in barathea, but I prefer more of a texture. I have actually seen them in things like wool silk linen, beautiful. I have also seen pure linen, but the trouble with pure linen, it does tend to crease, which kind of goes against the elegance of evening wear, but in the right context, fantastic. If it's a black tie event, and I'm brave enough to wear cream or confident enough to wear cream, I would keep everything else fairly straight. Midnight blue or black trousers, a black bow tie, a turned down collared soft shirt with either a pleated front or a button front Marcella. I don't want all the other bits and pieces. I think it just needs to just have your one statement, contrast pocket square, of course. Another element I like with a cream dinner jacket, probably because I'm a Brian Ferry fan, is the addition of a dark red satin cummerbund, worn with the black bow tie. It kind of works. I wouldn't wear a red bow tie with it. I've seen that done, it's not such a cool look. But the contrasting red cummerbund is very chic. Now for shoes, because it's lighter weight, I think you need a lighter looking shoe with it to balance it out. So a black heavy Oxford, for example, even a beauty polished, would be too heavy. I think I would be more inclined to put these with maybe a more modern option. Could be like a black velvet, a Belgian loafer is very chic, or a classic Albert slipper, or even a pump. I love a pump worn with these from white tie. Just something a little bit light, a bit more dressed up, looks more considered, and I think that's a way of making you definitely not like a waiter. The velvet jacket is such a useful piece of kit. In today's world, it's great for most black tie events. If it's a party, particularly if it's a Christmas party, if it's a red carpet event, if it's a festive occasion, if it's a formal dinner and you're not sure, I would err against it, err on the cautious side. But for a party, for entertaining, for a dressed up dinner party, absolutely spot on. Classic bow tie. You have some fun in winter, some tartan trousers, some check trousers, some velvet slippers perhaps, but it's such a lovely piece of kit. The reason I tell my customers to invest in one is a little bit like the cream dinner jacket in the summer. This has got the opportunity to really dress it down. So you can wear it with jeans and a roll neck, as well as you can wear it as a version of black tie. So something I'd like to touch on is when we have black tie with either black tie optional or black tie preferred. Now black tie preferred means that they'd like you to go to the effort of wearing a black dinner jacket or an evening wear, but if you don't want to, you're still welcome to come. So I would always tell my customers when I ask my advice, if it's black tie preferred, unless you've got a really good reason not to do it, make the effort, because that's what your hosts want. If, however, you don't wear black tie, dress conservatively and for the evening. So my suggestion would be a plain dark navy suit, a white shirt and a discreet tie, not dissimilar to what I'm wearing today. It's not an opportunity to dress outlandishly or clown-like or foppish. It's black tie preferred. Either make the effort and wear black tie, if not, dress respectfully. That's my advice. The other variation of black tie preferred is black tie optional. And doing some research for this video, I made the mistake of Googling it. And there's this whole idea that black tie optional is somehow like a third way of dressing where you can have some fun with it and wear velvets and all sorts of things. To my eye, black tie optional means you either wear black tie or you wear something which is conservative and in keeping of it. So if you're black tie optional, you either wear black tie or you wear your dark blue lounge suit. I don't see it as an excuse to break out your bold check trousers or play around with the dress code. It's not a dress code in itself, it's purely saying wear black tie or wear something equally respectful. You can't talk about black tie dress codes without mentioning the smoking jacket. In certain countries, I think France, they actually call a dinner jacket a smoking and they call the dinner shirt a smoking shirt. The smoking jacket was born out of the 19th century as a separate garment to change into for enjoying tobacco products. This is a modern version, this is a 20th century version of a 19th century smoking gown, tie waist, huge lapels, obviously ventless, beautiful garment to have to protect your clothes from the smell and the damage of ash. As we went into the 20th century and black tie became more popular, it became acceptable for the host to wear this at home. And nowadays, the smoking jacket is considered, for most events, an alternative to black tie. A lot of people I speak to see a smoking jacket as a version of black tie. They don't see a distinction, they see it's perfectly acceptable. I would tread with caution. If it's a red carpet event, fantastic, have fun, wear it. If it's a more conservative dinner, I would err with caution and go at least with a velvet dinner jacket rather than the out and out smoking jacket. So in preparation for today's filming, I actually put a poll out on Instagram and I asked about dress codes. You know, what dress codes would you like me to discuss, analyse, give some help on? And by far the single biggest comment I had was, can you please cover what does cocktail mean? And here I am, I'm doing cocktail for you. Cocktail is a dress code, I'd heard of it, but it wasn't really that popular, I think, until the last maybe 5 years. And I'm a fan of it. When you get invited to a cocktail event, it's going to be an evening event, cocktail hour, obviously. But they're saying, we want you to dress up, we want you to make an effort, we don't want you to come in your work suit, we don't want you to come casually dressed, but we don't want you to be confined by the strict codes of black tie. So you could quite legitimately say, well, okay, I'm going to wear black tie, and if you're comfortable in black tie, I would wear black tie to a cocktail event. Again, looking at the context of it, I would say, well, what type of event is it for cocktail? Is it quite a modern hotel? Just find out what the location is going to be like and get a vibe for it there. Great looks for cocktail could also be your white dinner jacket in the summer and your velvets in the winter, because they're versions of black tie, they're versions of evening wear, but they're not sticking to the strict conservative black tie look. So again, you've got to make an effort. But I have to say, I think the emergence of cocktail as a dress code has been probably my most enjoyable shift in modern menswear, because it's showing men opportunities to dress up and have some fun, and almost a reaction against how things used to be in my 20s and early 30s. When you would go out in the evening, we'd wear smart suits for work and we'd wear black tie for black tie events, etc. But then you go out for a really cool cocktail bar in London or a nice restaurant, and the girls would be dressed up very glamorously and we'd be in our chinos and Gap sweatshirts. I wasn't, but that was the vibe. And I just feel like having cocktail dress, it's almost the first dress code where the gentleman's dress code is actually taking lead from the ladies' style of dress. If you think of white tie, black tie, morning dress, lounge suit, they're all male dress codes and the ladies have to follow suit in there. But whereas for cocktail, we're thinking, the ladies are wearing cocktail dresses, what should we wear? It's a spin on that. So where do you start? When I was a buyer at Eden Ravenscroft 20 odd years ago, I noticed this trend of this missing area between country wear tweed jackets, your business suit and black tie. They just felt like they needed something in between. I always made sure in the collection, I think I was wearing cocktail suits. And it was like a midnight blue mohair suit. You'd wear with a white shirt, perhaps open-necked. What's the fashion then? Don't kill me. Where you looked a bit more glamorous, a bit more put together, a bit more considered, but not like you've just taken the tie off after work or you're wearing a black tie suit wrong. So that's what a cocktail would be. You often get black tie / cocktail. Love that, because that's saying, well, wear black tie, but hey, be creative with it. If you want to wear your cream dinner jacket, your tartan trousers, go open neck, wear a roll neck, you know, just really have some, wear really confident black tie clothing. So this would be a classic one for me. I wear my cream dinner jacket with an open neck chambray shirt, some full cut trousers and some loafers. I might swap the loafers out for some velvet Albert slippers. It's kind of taking elements of black tie and sometimes even white tie, and then mix them up in a very modern contemporary way, and I think it's really good fun. It's great for going out to a restaurant. If you're going out with some friends, you decide to dress this way because you don't feel like you're in black tie. Sometimes going black tie to a restaurant, no one else is in black tie, you can be a bit self-conscious, but this is a bit cooler. But like I said, check the context. Where's it going to be? Is it someone's house? You often see cocktail given as a dress code for birthday parties. Often sort of 40th or 50th birthday parties. You know, they've hired a lovely, quite glamorous hotel. They want you to dress up. They want you to drink champagne. They want to have great photographs, but they don't want it to look like a bad prom. So they don't put black tie. They want it to be a bit more glamorous, a bit more sophisticated. If you need to hire a personal stylist, go ahead. They're great for these sort of occasions. But that's cocktail. It's ambiguous, it's sexy, it's fun, it fits that gap into it, it captures the zeitgeist, and I hope it stays around a bit longer. So now we've covered the evening wear, we now go over to day dress. And the most formal version of day dress is morning wear. You will sometimes receive an invitation that will say morning dress, sometimes it will say morning dress or lounge suit. These will be things like a royal garden party, perhaps a wedding. There's more detail on that. And what morning dress is, essentially, it's a morning coat. The morning coat is always worn with a waistcoat, and then if it's a black coat, it will have contrasting trousers, usually striped, and then it's a regular shirt with a 4-in-hand tie. Now, as this morning we were filming, we got the white tie out, we had lots of starched garments out, it was great fun. I thought, keeping that theme, I've gone for a really old-fashioned starched collar, which is the correct collar to wear with morning dress, although my friends on Jermyn Street tell me it's becoming less and less popular, and some very smart, considered dressers are now wearing collar-attached soft shirts with morning dress. So don't feel you have to wear a starched collar. The waistcoat will vary depending on the occasion, and it won't necessarily have this on the invitation. If you're going to say Royal Ascot or Epsom, the rules of morning dress are actually stipulated what you can and can't do, so that helps you. Unfortunately, there will be times when it won't, where you'll be obliged, or there could be an opportunity to wear morning dress, but it's not that obvious. English weddings traditionally don't have a dress code on them, so you might need to ask around politely if you're not sure. You'll generally know you're going to wear morning dress, but if you're not sure, ask around or just wear a lounge suit. There will be occasions when you'll be asked to wear, or it'll be invited to say morning dress or lounge suit. This I see on modern weddings or at a royal garden party. In this instance, you wear morning dress. If you're wearing a lounge suit, I would be inclined to wear a smart lounge suit. Bearing in mind that people will be dressed like this, I would go for a grey charcoal 3-piece, for example, would be very elegant and respectful and in keeping with the formality. I would certainly wear a shirt and tie with my lounge suits rather than an open neck shirt or knitwear. So if you had this as your basis, the black waistcoat is always appropriate, although considered quite sombre. And if you add different coloured waistcoats, it becomes appropriate for different occasions. For race days, for example, people become quite flamboyant. If it's a wedding, you can be a bit more festive, maybe a beige or a buff coloured. But for a memorial service or at court, black is the appropriate colour. The only appropriate hat to wear with morning dress is the top hat, which will either be black or grey. If you're going to Royal Ascot or Epsom and you're wearing morning dress, it's stipulated you have to wear a top hat. Outside that occasions, it's your personal choice. Most weddings you don't wear top hats anymore, and for Royal Garden Party, again, it can be a bit of a faff, so if you don't have to wear a top hat, I wouldn't. And this is my favourite type of tie to wear with morning dress, a very fine pattern. This is a printed houndstooth, and usually I prefer a silk paisley, something quite discreet, complementary colours, but I really liked this linen as well with the coloured edges, which is nice. I like it when it pops with the white collar. The appropriate shoes to wear with morning dress would be black calf leather, highly polished. An Oxford is always smart, sometimes a loafer. But if you want more detail on all the nitty gritty of morning dress, there's a great video right here. And here's a dress code we'll all recognise, but comes by many different names. Probably the most confusing one, certainly for some, is they receive a formal invitation and the dress code is informal. And you think, oh, what does that mean to jeans, hoodie? Actually, this is considered informal. It means you're not wearing morning dress in the daytime, or in the evening you're not obliged to wear black tie or white tie. It's an informal gathering. You're wearing your soft suit and your soft shirt. Institutions would now refer to this as a lounge suit. So if you have an invitation, it says lounge suit. It is a 2 or 3 piece suit in a dark material with black or dark shoes. A shirt with a tie would be considered appropriate as a lounge suit. You'll often see it as an or, so it would be morning dress or lounge suit, black tie or lounge suit. In this instance, it's a dark suit, a paler shirt, a tie and dark shoes. So under the umbrella of informal, you may feel that you could wear maybe a blazer and flannels or an elegant sports jacket, maybe wear this jacket here perhaps with grey flannels. It isn't quite right, it's not a complete failure. It's not like wearing your hoodie, but I would always say under informal, the lounge suit has a degree of formality that perhaps a blazer doesn't, but I don't think it'd be a problem. Like I said, the informal dress code is used less and less these days, and I think most institutions would actually stipulate a lounge suit. If it says a lounge suit, don't wear a blazer and flannels, don't wear separates, wear a suit. So just to confuse you a little bit more, I hope I haven't confused you too much today, but bear with me. So this is considered informal. However, if you receive an invitation that says business formal, this hits the spot. So if you get business formal nowadays, perhaps for a conference that says dress business formal, the implication is you wear a dark suit, a pale shirt, a tie and black or dark shoes. This is what I would call business formal. Now in my generation, this was called business dress. And if I received an invitation and it said wear business dress, my assumption would always err on the formal side, and to my mind, this is still business dress. So following on from business formal, or what I call business dress, we have business casual. Now this is becoming more and more popular, and in some worlds and some sectors and some industries, if you say business dress, it's accepted you mean more business casual than what I would call business or business formal. It would change depending on the industry, the location and the event. But I'm often asked to give my opinion when people are invited to say conferences and it says business casual, and the guys who are going there are either wearing formal clothes for work or they don't have a dress code at all and are trying to get it right. I would always say for business casual, it separates over a suit. I would avoid trainers and jeans and denim and chambray. My issue, again, going off of the tangent a bit, as I often do, is the trouble with business casual is I like to keep my social wardrobe separate to my business wardrobe. It tends to cross over here. So I would say for business casual, some classic knitwear, a good quality sports jacket, and then for the bottom half, you're going for things like chinos and some chukka boots, maybe some loafers, which is kind of going into your weekend wardrobe. But I think elements such as a pocket square, I don't know, it looks more professional. So you can probably tell my tone, it's not my favourite dress code. I think we should bring back proper business dressing, but hey, I can't change the world. I can try. So I say for business casual, A collared shirt is preferable perhaps to a t-shirt. Knitwear is your friend. It always makes you look less like you've just taken your tie off. And that's, I guess, what I want to get across here. Don't just go, it's business casual. I don't wear business casual, I wear a suit. I'll just turn up and take my tie off. That's not a great look. You need to look considered, you need to look respectful, you can still look sophisticated and elegant. And I think this would be a good way of doing it. Often the conferences will give quite a detailed idea of what you can and can't wear because they want everyone to feel comfortable. And always, as I think one of the themes I've said, err on the more formal side. If you turn up and you feel overdressed, you can take your jacket off, you can roll sleeves up. So I'd always suggest having a tailored jacket, albeit it could be a soft tailored unstructured one, because you can always take a jacket off, but if you don't have one, you can't magic it from anywhere. Well, thank you for sticking with us this long. We're now on to our final dress code, which is summer casual. This isn't something I would have been aware of 10, 20 years ago as a dress code. But again, on a recent poll I put out on social and asked for, where do you need help? What do you need defining? Summer casual after cocktail was the most popular. We're seeing this for summer weddings, sometimes significant birthdays. It can be a bit confusing. It's not a strict dress code. What they're saying is dress informally, dress casually, but the fact it has a dress code, it means still make an effort. I would say perfect opportunity to wear a linen blend jacket. This one here is a great look. Open neck shirt. You could also wear a suit. I think it was, you could also perhaps wear a seersucker suit, or if you've got a beautiful, say, a tobacco brown linen suit, definitely wear that. Look great. Open neck shirts will always be okay. You could, like myself, probably add an ascot or a cravat or a bandana underneath it. You could wear a tie. If your personality is far more dressed up, maybe something like a little knitted tie or something not so formal could look quite cool, although overdressing for summer casual doesn't always give the right look. But no, it's really making an effort. You've been invited to an event, it has a dress code, they still want you to be comfortable, but they still want you to look good. And then for the trousers here, this for me would be great with a pair of sort of wide leg cream linen trousers and some great shoes. Something perhaps, maybe a Belgian loafer, maybe some two-tone loafers, have some fun with it. I'm really looking forward to reading your comments on this video. I have to say there's been some really thoughtful versions recently, people really sharing ideas, and we do really appreciate the time you put into this. We do read them and we try to respond, and ideas are reflected in the content we're making for you. So please keep that up. Hope you enjoy the videos and hit that subscribe button.